Hey Fae folk, welcome back to another doll fixing video. Today we're going to be taking a look at LOL Tweens designs and just tweaking them a little bit. So if you haven't seen this series of videos that I've done before, it's where I take a look at a doll line or brand and I find dolls that I just think are like not quite what they could be. Maybe they are honestly a little bit ugly to me and I want to fix them up, or I think that they're pretty good but they could be even better, and I just go in and I make some little edits to try to make them more interesting in my personal opinion. Of course, that's my opinion. You might love the originals and hate my designs, and that's fine as long as we can be like chill about it in the comment section down below. But yeah, we are doing the LOL Tweens today. I have done this type of video for the OMGs before, and I just like forgot that the tweens were also a thing that I could do this for. So we are rectifying that today. It's been like a hot second since I've talked about anything LOL on this channel, honestly. So it's like kind of interesting to dive back into it, but dive in we shall. Now with this video, as with a lot of my like fixing videos, I was trying to find a different word and I just immediately couldn't do it. Anyway, as with a lot of these types of videos that I do, I'm not looking at like what I necessarily think are the most butt ugly tweens that exist, just because a lot of the times the absolute worst of the worst to me is just beyond redemption, or at the very least, it's beyond redemption within the skill set that I have for editing these photos. So we're more looking at ones that are like kind of middle of the road that I just think could be better. So hopefully we will have a fun time today. I had fun editing these. I'm very excited to show them to you guys. So hopefully you're excited as well. So let's just go ahead and jump on into it. Alrighty, so as with a lot of these videos, I am going to be doing these in order from my least favorite edit to my most favorite edit. Not to say that this first one I don't think is still a good edit, but you know, there's always going to be like varying levels of excitement, and I do like to kind of end on a bang, at least for myself. So we are starting off with one of the slightly more recent LOL Tweens. They haven't put anything out like in a little bit, so again, semi-recent, but this is Bailey, and she's an interesting one. Here is like her base design as she comes. Sort of, because this is one of the head swap tweens, which means that this is also Bailey, because this is her alternate head and then like a couple of extra outfit pieces that she's got going on. Actually, I think it might just be the one extra outfit piece, like the sort of faux corset with the skirt attached. So I wanted to fix this mostly because I've said this before. My big gripe with the head swap tweens is that unlike some other head swap lines that we have seen throughout the existence of head swap dolls, I don't feel like they both match. Like I spoke, oh, was it a gimmick video? I think it might have been about some Bratz head swap dolls that I thought were really good because all of the looks were still cohesive. Whereas this, I'm like, okay, this looks like how Bailey is supposed to come. And this version of her, I like better in the sense that I think this head and hair and like hair color is just more interesting for my personal taste. But I don't feel like she feels like she was supposed to be designed this way. Like this very much does feel like an extra head and not like it goes along with the look. So I wanted to try to edit this just a little bit just to make it feel like more of a complete look and more like it's actually supposed to be how the doll is portrayed, instead of just like, yeah, well, if you take off some of her clothes and pop on a different head, you can have this lesser doll, you know? So this was what my edited version of Bailey looks like. I did do some changes with the makeup here, so if we kind of go between the two, you can see. I wanted to include some of this yellow color that she has in her hair just because I do think it's really pretty, and also it's like a very bright color, so I thought that that would add some contrast. So instead of having the like pink color on her eyelid for her makeup, I did do yellow instead. I also changed the color of her eyebrows because I think it is absolutely ridiculous that this second head for this character, who has a different face up, still has purple eyebrows as though we're trying to match this one. Like, no, she's got orange and red hair and yellow hair. So I gave her like more red tone eyebrows so that it looked like it actually matched. And I also did change the color of her lipstick. I don't really have like a reason for this one. I just thought it looked nice. So those were the like facial changes, and then I didn't do like too much on the outfit. You can see on like the main body of the outfit here that I did change the color of like the transparent plastic pieces on her sort of choker and then her belt, as well as these little stripes at her wrists, just because I feel like this one there's less contrast and I just didn't like that as much. I mean, the color of her belt and her little like jumpsuit situation are pretty similar, and I just didn't feel like it looked as good. This version of Bailey with this head does have a very dramatic face. Like the makeup is very interesting, almost sort of clowny, and I really love it. Like I really enjoy it, but I just felt like without the contrast, the outfit didn't look dramatic enough. So I darkened that up, made it like a little bit of a deeper purple, kind of like this part of her makeup, just to make it contrast again a little bit more, make it a little bit more interesting. And then for the shoes, I did the same sort of thing at the bottom of the shoe. In the original, they're like very, very light, and I just don't vibe with that. Obviously, I also added fishnets. Does it look perfect? No, obviously. I'm not like an editor by profession, okay? This is just for fun. You get the idea. I just feel like fishnets always improve an outfit. I love them so much, but also I feel like they do add some drama. It's another layer because I think that something she's definitely missing that we get with the alternate version of Bailey is some sort of layering effect. So having the fishnet tights, I just felt like added some layer. And then the last thing that I changed was on her shoes. On the original here, you can see the heart cutouts are like definitely there, but because of like the lack of contrast between the color of the boot and then her skin tone, like they are different colors obviously, but they have similar values in the sense that like if you were to make this grayscale, actually hold on, you know what, let's do it. Oh my god, I selected the wrong layer. I'm gonna lose my mind. I was like so ready. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're gonna have this revelation. Selects the wrong layer. Okay, but you can see here if I make it all black and white how there's not like the most contrast in this area here. Like it just doesn't, there is some, but it kind of blurs together, and I didn't like that. I wanted it to not blur together. So I just added a little bit of that darker purple outline on the boot so that the heart cutout was a lot more obvious. It's a little bit more dramatic, and I just think that it looks kind of more visually interesting also. Like the shoes to begin with, I think are kind of not boring, definitely not boring, but like almost incomplete. They don't feel like they were finished to me. So I just think that this makes them look a lot more polished and more interesting. And I think this is really solid. Like, again, this is my least favorite edit, quote unquote, in terms of compared to the other ones that are coming up. I do think there are better edits, but I still think that this is a huge improvement over the original design. And I really, really like how this one turned out. Okay, next up on the editing chopping block here is Jenny Rocks, who I do think is a good tweens. Like Bailey, I just kind of didn't love. I don't really like any of the head swap ones. I like the head, but other than that, I'm kind of like mid about her before my edits, of course. But Jenny Rocks, I do think is like a fun design. She has a very clear, very interesting aesthetic, and I do really like a lot of elements of her design, but I still think that she could be better. The number one thing is the hair on mine. This is just unbearable to me, if I'm being completely honest. I did used to have this doll. I did sell her recently just because, like, in addition to me not talking about the LOL lines, OMG, and tweens on the channel as much, that, like, the lack of discussion has mostly been because they've really slowed their output. But I also just feel like I've been less interested in them and less, like, excited when I saw them on my collection. So I did get rid of quite a few. So she was one that didn't stay. um, but when I did have her, I immediately redid her hair because I just could not handle this hairstyle. I think that the concept of having, instead of like one ponytail or pigtails, like are kind of more traditional styles, having like three could be interesting, but just the way that it's executed and like the scale with the tweens and everything, I just didn't feel like it worked. So that's going to be the biggest change that we see here with my edit is I did remove the like two side pigtails. Again, like it doesn't work for me. I think part of the problem is that because I need like a better color for this so it stands out a little bit more. Because the tweens have such a round, wide face to begin with, like all of the LOL branded things have that. I think that adding width with these pigtails really doesn't help with the proportions because they're already very extreme, and that's totally fine. Like, I'm not saying extreme proportions are bad, but I do think that the proportions are already extreme to the point where it's like pushing the edge. Like, a lot of people will not collect LOL because of the faces and the heads because they're just very extreme. Again, and I totally understand. Like, if you feel that way, that's fine. So I think that having this super wide head already and then adding width to it is just like not really a great way to do it, especially because when we don't have any width at the bottom, like her leg warmers don't really flare out or anything like that. You end up having a design that is just so heavy up top and feels like nothing on the bottom. And yeah, I just didn't think that it looked great. So I basically just got rid of the two side ponytails so she could still have her back ponytail with the split dye. I still think that's very, very interesting. And then the rest could just kind of be like pulled back a little bit at the temples and have like a little bit of loose hair here. I'm literally always on the wrong layer doing these videos. Like I am never on the right layer. But yeah, like hair pulled back here and then kind of loose behind her. I just feel like this helps mitigate that wideness. It kind of makes it look a little bit more streamlined, a little bit more cohesive. And I did also change the color. I added a little bit of like a darker purple in her hair streaks because she has like this random almost orangey red. Like in here you can really see the sort of orangey tone to that like reddish pink, and I just didn't think that fit with the rest of her outfit, so I did make them more like purpley streaks to match a little bit better. Then moving on down for the rest of the outfit, I added a cat face on her shirt, which like that is purely for me. I'm gonna keep it real with y'all. In the original, you can like just barely see that there is a design underneath the sort of like tank top that she's got over her t-shirt, and on the t-shirt there's a cat design. And as someone who adores cats to maybe an unhealthy degree, I was personally offended that they covered that up. So I put the cat design on the outside instead. And then with the rest of her outfit, the other two changes that I made with the skirt bottom situation, it's like half short, half skirt. So I just didn't feel like the color was like working for me because she has one color scheme sort of for her outfit where it's like this dark purple kind of all the way through, and then the hair you get more of these like varied purple tones where some of it is quite pink, and I just didn't think that it was as cohesive. So I wanted to leave the top underneath like the white camisole section, like her t-shirt top. I wanted to leave that dark purple, and I didn't change anything on the leg warmers, so we've still got like a few different purples in there, but I wanted to make the plaid on her skirt more of that slightly pinkier purple, just so it like tied together. There was a little bit more variation in there. And then the very last thing that I did was this section here. So like she has the skirt, right? And then underneath are shorts. And to me, it just doesn't look as visually interesting in this stock photo specifically because the short is almost in line with the skirt. So like if you just glance at it, you might not even realize that it is a separate layer sort of situation. So I just brought that line up a smidge. Again, wrong layer. What else is new? Just so that there's a little bit more differentiation and you can kind of see more of that asymmetry, and it just adds a little bit more interest. It's subtle, but I do think it's effective. I know I said this wasn't my favorite improvement because obviously we're going least favorite to most favorite. So like, it's not my favorite improvement. But also this kind of slaps. Like maybe I should have put this a little higher. I feel like this is really solid, especially the hair. Like I stand by the other edits, but especially the hair. I think it's so, so much better this way. Alrighty, next up, we're going to be taking a look at Hannah Groove, who is a tween that I do think has a good design. I never felt like I wanted to buy her. She's kind of one of those dolls where I'm like, yeah, I'm glad she exists. She's cool for people who like love her. I just don't really feel like I need to own her personally. So like, I do think this base design is already pretty solid, but I also think that we can improve it even more. Obviously, she's in the video. So this is what my version of Hannah Groove looks like. And now that I'm looking at it, I realize I made way fewer changes to this one. I probably should have put her lower in the video, but like it's way too late. I'm not doing that now. So original, you can see here with the eyes and everything, she has this really pretty blue on her under eye and then a orange on top that like you straight up can't see. Like this portion here, from far away, it blends into her skin tone so much. And that's not like necessarily a bad thing. Like obviously with makeup, if you want to have it be very, very close, like your eyeshadow to your natural skin tone, that's fine. You're allowed to do that. Just when you're looking at a design for a character, not a human person, I do feel like it just needed something a little bit more interesting. So I made it purple. She does have like a little bit of purple in her base design, namely on her dress and then like on her necklace. But I felt like there could have been more purple to kind of spread that color throughout her design. So that's why I went with purple over any other color for this. And I just think it's more interesting. I think it makes her eyes look more balanced and more fun and just, again, more interesting. I did also change the color of her bracelet to purple from this like yellowy color. I like the yellowy color. It's like right in between yellow and orange. And those are my two favorite colors. So I do like the bracelet on principle, But again, I wanted to have more purple in the design. And also, this is purely from the stock photo. I do know that, but just within the stock photo, I did feel like having the yellow hair and then the orange bracelet so close together, like you kind of lose it a little bit. So purple instead for contrast. And then I'm sure you've already spotted the biggest difference, which is I shortened the boots up. I'm never going to say no to like a good thigh high. That's super, super fun. However, I do think that there are ways to execute it that look better than others. And unfortunately, I just don't think that her original design really did it justice. I don't like the fact that the boots end exactly where the dress does. Like, I just don't think that that looks good. It's not quite the same thing technically, I don't think, but in art there's a thing called a tangent, which like I don't even know like what to draw to make it like easy real quick. We'll just do uh I should have prepared this ahead of time. I should have done my homework. But basically a tangent is like, okay, I'm going to draw like a really shitty just like loose sketch of a head here. Okay, so we've got a head and then we've got like the neck and the t-shirt. And say I want to have a pattern on the t-shirt, right? Okay, so this is where the neck is. If I want to have suddenly like vertical stripes on the t-shirt, that's fine. But if I put like a vertical stripe here where it ends up being like one straight line from the neck down into the stripe, that's called a tangent within drawing and art. I'm just going to erase this. It's definitely easier than me undoing everything. And you know, you're allowed to have it. Like realistically speaking, art doesn't have rules. You're allowed to do whatever you want with your art, but generally speaking, it's considered something that like messes up the visual flow and just kind of confuses the eye. So a lot of people consider it something that they don't want to have in their artwork. And I do feel like Hannah almost has a tangent here with where her like boot and her dress meet. Again, it's not like exactly the same thing, and I probably explained tangent really poorly, so I am sorry. Point is I just think that there needed to be some differentiation there, so I added some thigh space there where the boots end a little bit lower so you can see some of her legs. So like they're still very, very tall, like over the knee boots. I'm not really eradicating the overall silhouette. I'm not changing like the length too much, but it's just enough to differentiate between the boots and the dress and just kind of give that gap and make it, to me, more interesting for both pieces, because then you can let yourself look at both pieces instead of it just being like dress boots. Again, wrong layer. That would have been so dramatic. I'll just recreate it. Dress boots. Now you get to go dress boots. And yeah, it's something small, but it did really, really bother me about her design. So this is like a much less drastic makeover, but I do think, again, it's really solid, especially with the boots thing. Like, I think that's so much better. Okay, now we're going to be taking a look at Flora Moon, and this one is, again, relatively subtle, but I think this was much, much, much needed. I really do like the base for this doll. I think that everything she comes with, honestly, is like pretty solid. She looks very interesting. She has a slight sort of celestial theming where she's got constellations and stars on her pants, and then like teensy little baby stars you can hardly see. Again, I'm on the wrong layer. No one is surprised. But tiny little baby stars on her cheeks, and her name's Flora Moon. I think that is a great concept. I like, for me personally, you almost never go wrong with celestial theming. Like, it's just fun. But I don't think that they did enough. I do think that when you have like stars and moons and suns and constellations as your theme for a character, there's so much that you can do. And so it's kind of a crime to me that she looks this plain. I don't like that. So this is my edited version of Flora Moon, starting off with the face and the hair. I just thought she needed more accessories in general. We're going to be talking about the other ones that I added in, but for the hair, I added in some little star-shaped hair clips. I did just think that there was like a lot of pink going on with her hair, which is totally fine. I didn't really change too many colors with this edit. But I did just want to like break it up a little bit, have some accessory there, because I think, again, she needed accessories. You're adding more of those star shapes, and it breaks up the pink just a little bit, just enough for it to be sort of fun to me. I added significantly more stars on her face because, like, is it kind of obvious? Maybe overdone? I don't know. I like it, and that's what counts for this video. So instead of just having one little star on each cheek, I wanted to give her like star freckles, essentially. I just thought that would be more fun, more interesting, more dramatic, all of the good stuff. Then moving on down to her shirt, I did change the colors here a little bit. I just felt like the pink and then the purple was too close to the pink in my opinion. And then I also didn't love the color of this little like band here, just because I don't know. Again, we'll go ahead and do the black and white. This whole section to me just feels very blended. Like you don't really see a big difference between the different pieces, especially now you can see like with the shirt. Like that could all be one color. So it's not inherently terrible, but I just thought it could be better. So I did make the fuzzy part of her shirt that was purple blue instead, and then I made the like lining on like the cuffs and then the bottom of the shirt a darker blue to kind of match the darker blue in her hair, and also just to add again some sort of contrast there, some sort of break between the shirt and the pants. And then the last thing that I did was again adding just more accessories on there, a little like star charm bracelet, and then a celestial belt because like again, is it a little cliche? Yes. A little stereotypical? Sure. For like a star moon character to have a star moon belt. But I think it's stereotypical for a reason. And that reason is because it looks really cool. And I did just feel like she looked so empty. She was from a line of OMGs that were, again, a little bit more recent. And definitely you could see that the budget had gone down for them. I mean, she doesn't even have wrist articulation. So, like, part of this is just a symptom of when she was released. But I feel like, have I been saying OMGs? I'm sorry if I did. The tweens. But I do feel like the tweens and LOL in general are known with their best stalls for the level of intricacy and detail that they have. So I thought that this original way she came was fine, but it just really lacked a lot of what I expect from LOL and from the tweens. So I wanted to make her have more accessories and just be a little bit more exciting and be more in line with what I think of when I think of the tweens. So again, a little bit more subtle than some. Like I think Jenny Rocks had like a really dramatic transformation with the hair difference. But I really like this, and I really think that it's just like a tiny little thing. It's just adding more accessories. Like the color, yes, that also helps. But even if you just add the accessories, I think it does a lot for this doll. So I really like this change. And then to round out the video for today, we're going to be taking a look at Cat Mischief, who was from a line of dolls that were all inspired by Alice in Wonderland characters, which like fun concept, super duper. And you would think, given that this is Cat Mischief, who was inspired by the Cheshire Cat, that I would have snapped her up immediately because again, I'm obsessed with cats. But honestly, I was really disappointed by her design. So the thing with these were that they did come with like a bunch of extra pieces. They had kind of like a quote unquote like everyday look, I guess you might say, and then more of an almost masquerade style look. So this was like her base look. And then this is how she looked when you put on all of her extra accessories. So there's different shoes, the mask, the ears, the jacket, and then like this situation at the skirt here. And I like elements of this, but neither version of her I thought just looked perfect. So we're fixing that. So I am fixing her based off of this more baseline look, just because I do think that this one's a little too busy for my personal taste, which like is not something I say that often, but there's a lot happening here. So I wanted to kind of edit this version of her. I am going to be bringing in elements from her more fancy masquerade version, but we just kind of use this as a baseline. So that's what my version looks like. So I did add some cat ears. I do not like these ears that she actually comes with. I just think the shape of them is like a little bit weird. It almost like doesn't quite read cat. Like the shape is just like a little bit off to me. I don't particularly love that in this design they have the painted gold balls all along the side, but the inside of her ear is the same color as like the like fur quote unquote portion. I just didn't think that it was great, if I'm being honest. So I gave her slightly more basic cat ears. To me, they have a more cat shape. They're gold to tie in some of that gold that's in the rest of her outfit with little teal inside of the ear because I like the contrast of it. I think that's more fun. So they're more subtle, but they're still giving like the cat vibe that she has and that I do in fact crave. Moving on down with the hair, if you look at her original, she's supposed to have like these like bubbled ponytails, which I think is a super, super cute look. But hers honestly just look extremely sad, if we're being real here. Like they're so just blah, blah, blah. They're weak. They're weak bubbles, and I don't like that. So I tried to make these a little stronger. I added the skirt. We'll talk about it in a second. So it's kind of hard to see in certain places, but yeah, like One day I'll be on the right layer. Today's not that day. I made them more bubbly because I just think that it looks more interesting to have a little bit more volume in the bubbles if you're gonna do that. Then with her shirt here, real quick before we get to the skirt, on the original, she does have purple ribbon at the cuffs of her arms, and then also the purple ribbon like bow at her neck. And I just didn't think that there was like a ton of contrast. Also in her base design like this, the teal in her hair, or like the bluish color in her hair, is not anywhere else in her outfit. And y'all know that shit drives me crazy. I feel like if you have a color in a design, it looks really nice to have it flow throughout the entire design. There are obviously exceptions, but like this is not one of them to me. I did not like this. So I did make the cuffs and then that little bow a tealish color as well to match her hair, and also to just give more contrast within the shirt so that it didn't blend in completely to the purple shirt. Also on this side, like, it was messy on this one. You can see where like the ribbon is like not fully covering up all of the shirt, and so there's just like little strings poking out. I cleaned that up. It doesn't matter, but I just wanted to point it out, I guess. I did add the tulle overskirt that we do see in like this fancier version of her, because I did think that was really fun. I think the silhouette is very Wonderland and very interesting, and I wanted to keep that. It also adds more of that teal color, which I wanted to do. But yeah, I just wanted it to be on this version instead of like on her full version. So I just like snipped that and popped that in there. And that was the last change. Like I didn't do anything insane to her. I think maybe the reason she's at the top of the video, the reason that I like this one the most, is just because I liked the concept already. I mean, it's Wonderland, which I do think is very fun and interesting, and it's cats. Like, it should have been so appealing to me. And so I think this one is the most fun for me to redesign because I wanted to like this doll to begin with. And I just think she needed a couple of tweaks to really be like the doll that I wish we could have seen. I think that, again, not necessarily the most dramatic. It's decently dramatic, not necessarily the most, but very effective in my personal opinion. If she came like this, I would have bought her in a heartbeat. This is adorable. But yes, guys, there's going to be all of the fixes for the LOL Tweens designs for today. I had a lot of fun with this one. It's interesting to me because, like, I always have fun doing these videos. It's a creative process and I enjoy it. But some of them definitely require, I guess, more brain power, you would say, where I'm kind of thinking a lot more and it takes me a lot longer to do the edits because I'm like trying different things and some things don't work. Whereas with this one, it just like flowed. It just came out so easily and so naturally, and it like felt so just clear in my head. It was like, okay, this is exactly what you need to do to make this doll look how you want it to look, which was a fun and different experience. Again, like I don't mind it when I have to kind of work a little bit harder at the edits, but it was just really interesting to me that these just seemed so easy for me. So definitely had a fun time making these and sharing them. I do hope you enjoyed seeing my edits as well. As per usual, I would love to hear how you feel about these changes in the comments down below. Which one's your favorite, your least favorite, all of that jazz. And also, as per usual, if there are any other brands you want to see me do this style of video for, definitely feel free to suggest them in the comments. I have done a lot of these videos thus far, so I think I've covered like most of the major brands. But yeah, if you want to see any others that I just haven't thought of or haven't done yet, definitely feel free to let me know down below. But that's going to be it for today, guys. I do hope you were able to enjoy. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day or your night, whatever it might be, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye, guys.